Let's start out with some questions dealing with the issue of education. And I'm going to start with our veteran legislator, our most veteran legislator, Senator Ruud. I'm going to go to you and talk a little bit about the substitute teaching problem. I understand you've had a bill that was introduced to discuss that issue. We're going to then move from that to some discussion about higher ed. But let's start with your bill and some concerns about substitute teachers in our school districts across the state.
Well, thank you. We actually passed this in the Senate last year because we saw the crisis, and I think it had broad support, but it didn't get to the finish line. And now my superintendents have come in and said, "Oh, please, you need to help us. We are so short on teachers." My superintendent is actually teaching math right now because they're short of teachers, and we think that there's a lot of people that can come from industry and actually help teach, maybe on a short-term basis to help us out of this crisis. I know my own dad was he taught at North High School, and he was a jack of all trades, and they really needed an industrial arts teacher. They called them shop teachers in those days, and he was certified in machine shop and woodworking and the auto shop, and so they brought him in, and then he worked on his school certification while he was teaching, and it was a great pairing for the school and for my dad. He just loved working with the students. So I think we have a lot of people out there that have incredible knowledge in industry that we could bring into our schools to help us with this substitute teacher shortage.
Representative Wazlawik, what are your thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, I think we've all heard this issue from our superintendent, so it's something that we're all pretty familiar with as an issue. The lack of substitute teachers has been a concern for a lot of districts, including those in my district, school districts in my district. And I would say I know that we heard a bill in our education policy committee in the House, and that was part of the conversation was what are we going to do about the substitute teacher issue. I do think it is important that I think one of the things I'm a sub in a childcare program, so not the same as teaching, but I know that it can be difficult for someone who doesn't have classroom experience to come in and teach in a classroom of 25 to 30 kids. So for me, I want to make sure that folks sort of have an opportunity to understand what that's like before just dropping them in a classroom. I think to Senator Ruud's point, there are a lot of people who know a lot of things, particularly in the CTE areas, and I think it's important to get those folks in there when we can, but also that they're prepared to handle sort of what actually goes into teaching beyond the content knowledge.
Senator Putnam, substitute teaching, your thoughts?
I know this is a fascinating issue for a number of reasons. I mean, one, I've been a substitute teacher for a long period of time, back when I was in grad school for a while before, in between different programs, I was a substitute teacher. But also, my wife is actually a superintendent of public schools in District 742, first ever female superintendent of 742, by the way, which I'm incredibly proud of her. But I see her in the morning on Zoom trying to find bodies to put in classrooms, moving the principals from here to there, the counselor from here to there, just trying to find people who can teach. So we're facing a very profound immediate crisis. But my big concern is that we don't make long-term decisions about a short-term crisis. Similar to what Representative Wazlawik was saying, I think that when we think about people teaching, we have to think about discipline partially, because different subject matters are more suitable to have people with community experience teaching them than others. But we also can't forget that teaching itself is a skill and an art that you have to work on. I am a teacher, I teach college, but I'm horrible at teaching high school. One of my substitute jobs was to teach second grade for 6 months. I was horrible at that. And it's not because I don't know how to count or I don't know what paste is like. I know those things. I just don't know how to teach that age. So we can't forget that teaching itself is a skill and an art, and it takes effort and study to perfect it and to know how to do it.
Representative Ego, your thoughts, substitute teaching?
Yeah, to reiterate, I mean, being the last one to talk about this subject, right? I mean, a lot of good things have been said, but the one thing I think I've really noticed in working with my community there in Grand Rapids is, especially when we talk about Greater Minnesota versus Metro Minnesota on this issue, right? In a small town like Grand Rapids, which is my hometown, 10, 12,000 people, those short-term subs, those community members do know how to teach, right? Because that member shows up into that classroom, I bet he or she knows just about every student in that room, because we're still community based, right? And I think when we're looking at policies like this, we need to make sure to incorporate that. And it's been such an interesting, me being the youngest member of the legislature, a lot of my friends that I went to school with are now teachers scattered across the state in the Midwest. And I've been talking with them about how their independent districts have been handling with this, which has given me a lot of good ideas. And I know I've been talking to members here in my caucus who are working on this issue, as I don't serve on an education committee. That doesn't mean it is an issue we all need to work on.